when I was young, somebody told me about religious belief in Japan, and they told me that in Japan, everybody believes that, what many people believe, that the universe is conscious or that everything in the universe is alive. And I said that's bullshit because I'm pretty sure that Japanese people notice that some people are dead and other people are unconscious. And they will not say everything in the universe is alive and conscious except for a person under anesthesia or a person that has recently died. Right? So these words mean something different. They're mistranslations. There's something else going on. I don't know what they're talking about, but I don't know if they're superstitious. And very gradually came to the conclusion that the mind that runs on our brains is a self-organizing software. And when we think about how self-organizing software can form in nature and process information, it turns out that self-organizing software can, in principle, also run on other stuff, right? On bodies and on even on individual cells. And then when you start looking at the organism and cells again, you realize, oh, there is nothing in between. Everything that is structure in our organism is controlled by some control software. Right? So it's all software that is controlling sometimes individual molecules. And sometimes the control is not completely coherent because not all the softwares want the same thing and not all the software is very good, but it's all self-organizing software that is going down to the molecular layer and distinguishes living from dead stuff. And when we think about what happens when an organism dies, what we mean is the software breaks down. Basically, it's no longer able to control the organism down to the molecular level and everything is breaking down. And that thing becomes unorganized and is then being taken over by other software, by other organisms. And from this perspective, we suddenly notice that evolution is not about organisms and not about genes, as Dawkins said. Basically, we shift the perspective from these large lumbering beings that are made from many, many cells to the molecules inside of the cells that code the information that determine what the organism looks like. This is the shift that Dawkins made in the selfish gene. But rather, evolution is about competing softwares, where you have all these software agents that are controlling matter and that can self-replicate using genes, and they're implemented on the dynamics of patterns between cells and within cells. So you have all this software running on matter that creates dynamic intelligent complexity. And this is exactly what animism proposes. That basically the universe or our world, our nature, our forests, our organisms, our countries are full of self-organizing agentic software that is controlling matter down to the lowest level. And to the lowest level doesn't probably mean down to elementary particles, but down to the level where this control is reliably possible for the systems that make representations of what's happening. Software is something very concrete. And for computer scientists, they know intuitively what it is because they work with it every day. But when we try to translate this to non-computer scientists, software is a pattern in matter. Right? It's not the matter itself, but it's a pattern that works in some areas of the universe as well as in others, which means it's a physical law. It's a physical law that says when you arrange matter in a particular way and then look at it with a certain resolution, you see a pattern. And this pattern is going to evolve in a particular way. And it's stable. And for the computers that we are building, we build them in such a way that the patterns remain stable, that your computer program still makes sense to describe what the computer is doing, instead of the computer turning in some kind of padding that can no longer be described by the software. But the same thing is also true for our organisms. They never leave those bounds, where the software that runs on the organism can no longer describe and control it. And once it does, the organism dies.